Hi, this is Minda Wilson. Welcome back to Urgent Care. My guest today is Laura Mitchell, really a pioneer in the digital health space, very active in the care of aging Americans. And Laura, I'm so excited to have you. Welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me.
So, how did you originally get interested in this? What was your sort of magic moment when you founded GrandCare?
Well, I don't know. I think it was a series of things that happened when I was in high school. I was helping my parents. We lived, we're in Wisconsin, and my parents, my father's great aunt lived on the same property as my parents in a small cottage. They sort of lived on a hobby farm, and we were taking care of her. And what ended up happening is my mom would have me she's a morning person, so she'd go take care of her in the morning, and after school I'd be doing all my sports, and then after I'd go take care of her and sort of help her get to bed. And she really just wanted to remain independent, and she was very cognizant and was very capable of living on her own. And I just really thought at that time, I really like working with this demographic. And so I went to UW-Madison, and I was originally pre-med, and I wanted to go into gerontology. And then a series of things happened that, incidentally, I ended up majoring in German instead, which is an odd, an odd little foray. I studied abroad in Germany, and I majored in German. And I ended up, though, still being in absolutely the space that I wanted to be in, which was more the intersection of technology, because I've always been involved in technology from doing website design and throughout high school and college and teaching website and HTML fundamentals classes and stuff. So I always was involved in technology, but I found that perfect intersection when we teamed up to form GrandCare in 2005.
And for aspiring entrepreneurs out there, when you recognized that this was something you were going to do, when you had the inspiration to form the business, what was the driver that kept it going? I mean, you had to get financing, you had to make contacts with hospitals, with all these organizations. It seems overwhelming to somebody who's never done it before. What was sort of the process that you went through of building a business?
Well, so the founders, the two co-founders, Charlie and Gaitha Hillman, they had the vision of the idea. Actually scaling back to the 90s when they had the idea, and then the other founder and I came on board in 2005 when they were just seeking their first fundraising. So we were involved in every single part of it, but the idea itself was really inspired out of a need, as most of these products start. Somebody has a need to take care of somebody, and they're looking for that technology, and it's not there, and so they decide to build it themselves. So I guess it's just taking risks is what is the only thing that I can think of to say is go ahead and take the risks.
Because now you've started a consulting business and you're advising people in the healthcare space about helping them getting started with their businesses and growing them. So how does what you went through with GrandCare sort of tie into how you help people now?
Well, I think it's being able to prove that I'm still alive in some ways, right? It's just everybody. A lot of entrepreneurs have done the sweat equity, have done the I didn't get paid, or I and my husband didn't get paid for a couple months, or we took a decrease so that we could pay our employees type of thing, or just all the things, just living with the trickle-in investment that often happens. And it's just a matter of really knowing that there is a plan B. I mean, at the end of the day, if this didn't work, then we all could go get jobs here or there and make it work. But it's really determining how long are we going to spend doing this? How much are we willing to give up to do this? And we really had to make a lot of those decisions as we went along.
But you seem to have a certain passion for what you were doing, a certain desire to really be helpful in the healthcare space for the elderly. So tell me a little bit about that. Like how does that sort of guide what you do?
Well, I don't really think that anyone, especially as early as we were involved in this space, could have done it without an extreme passion to sort of do well while doing good, because it was so, we felt like Sisyphus. We were consistently pushing the boulder up the hill and watching it roll down the next day. And, it was this desire saying, we know that this is a need. We know that there's an aging tsunami coming. And it was just a matter of, I felt that the first 7 years was really educating the market that there is a need. Not, I don't care which technology you choose, just choose one, anyone. And so that was where we formed the Aging Technology Alliance, with a lot of the idea was co-opetition and collaboration amongst competitors. And, really to get people to admit that there is an ROI to using enabling technologies on top of physical caregiving.
What is this ROI of using enabling technologies on top of caregiving? Explain how you measure that.
Yeah, I think it's a little complicated right now to look to establish specific ROIs, because what ends up happening is hospitals or home care providers say, or senior housing providers say, I want to use this technology. Clearly using it will make my caregivers faster, more efficient, provide better care. It'll decrease, caregiver burnout. Obviously, the introduction of computers and technologies is going to make humans faster and better and smarter. And it's really complicated, though, because they want to see an ROI, but it's hard to establish an ROI unless you've got a huge university outfit or some other funding source that is going to fund a study, because a lot of the entrepreneurs are really either self-funded or low-funded with investor dollars, and they don't have the cash flow to be able to fund big studies like that. So it's a matter of having some innovative, visionary believers that say, obviously, this is going to work. Obviously, if I don't have to physically go to this person and take their blood pressure, but they can take it with the same device they always have, and it just automatically reports it to me, that's obviously faster. Now I'm assuming that the technology works, but we've had years and years and years to establish that that's the efficacy of the technology is not the problem. It's really the workflow process, getting those caregivers to work through the technology to be able to access the technology, and that's really the time suck in the beginning. Is that there's that curve that it's going to take a little bit of time to establish processes around it.
So basically, one of the ways that we can look to the future to really help an aging population is by incorporating some of the great advances of technology into their lives. Telemedicine, which you've been actively involved in, is one.
Yep.
Certainly transmission of data transmission directly to the providers is one. Facilitating communication. I mean, what are some of the things that you see in the future as happening to make healthcare better for our aging population using technology?
I think a lot of the technology is established and is working, and that's not the issue. I really think it comes down to reimbursements, because people need to obviously be in. Right now, there's simple things being reimbursed, like sometimes if someone's looking at the telehealth data, that's reimbursed, but not necessarily the telemedicine equipment. Or, so there's different things depending on states about what's being reimbursed. Once there is a general flow of reimbursement, it clearly makes sense that long-term care insurance should absolutely be funding telehealth, telemedicine, and activity of daily living technologies. Clearly, that's so much more cost-effective than moving into senior housing, especially if the person doesn't need it. If they only have a few things that they need some cognitive assist, it clearly makes more sense to have enabling technologies to help out with that. So I think in the future, it'll be about people establishing it into their routines, some big players that just take the leap, that put enough of these systems in that they can establish white papers with large preventative data, predictive data, things that clearly establish the ROI, and then everybody will do it.
I think that what you've hit on a very important point, which is enabling elderly people to live independent lives. That seems to be the most, important thing. It reduces the cost of care for them. It creates a better living situation for them. And so I think that we have to move reimbursement towards facilitating that. How do you think is the best way to do that? Do we have a voice? What can we do?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's two sides of the low-hanging fruit. I think that there's the seniors that really prefer to remain independent at home, and maybe they've got, one chronic disease that they're trying to manage. Maybe they're managing diabetes. Maybe they've got some mobility concerns or some minor cognitive issues, but for the most part, they can just age in place with having some sort of intervention of technology / caregivers. And that's an easy one to get right, so we introduce something into the home, whether it's a device or a socialization reminder tool, and that helps them stay independent. So that's a clear one. And then you've also got on the other end of the spectrum, you've got frequent flyers that are going to the hospital, in and out of the hospital all the time. And, there's some, tiny percentage that costs millions of dollars. And so those folks, if they can get some sort of technology tools to assist them in transitioning safely from hospital to home, where it identifies earlier red flag symptoms so that they can go on to see the doctor before they're back in the ER. That's also, that's perhaps even more of a cost savings. And it's really a tiny percentage of people. So I think on both of those sides, it's establishing reimbursements for being paid, an unpaid caregiver, maybe getting some tax credits back for actually providing that care without having to. And there are already programs in place like this, but being able to provide that unpaid care and having credits for that in order to purchase telemonitoring, telemedicine technologies to help.
So for people who are responsible for giving care, what are some of the opportunities to get reimbursed for providing that care?
It's really state-based, and Medicare, Medicaid, all of those are, I see advancements in there, but I don't see anything from an individual standpoint. A lot of the home health providers are using certain benefits. They're getting grants to pay for some of these technologies, and sometimes they're getting reimbursed for specific portions of the technology. And again, that's state-based. I know like Minnesota is really progressive in what they pay for. From a private consumer standpoint, a lot of the GrandCare customers we've found have gone to their own long-term care insurance companies and have made the claim, and they've gotten it paid for. So it's been interesting. It's been a per person, but we help advise them, like, here's what you should do, and then we help them to write up a little thing to send to their insurance provider. But unfortunately, it's one-on-one right now. It's not mandated from any large, group.
So for a lot of people like myself are responsible for aging parents. There's it's an overwhelming responsibility in many ways, because not only are you have the family dynamics that you grew up with, but also you have a person who's not feeling well and not sort of managing their environment as well as they did when they were young. So what tell us a little bit about what support options are available through GrandCare or other organizations that might be able to help them better take care of their aging parents?
Sure. There's a lot of support options out there. And one of the most important things about all of these technologies is it's always one thing to remember is that it's always should be focused around the care provided. So these technologies should amplify the care and not the other way around. So it would sort of be like, sort of the caregiver having a microphone, and now more people can hear the care. So that's how I think of GrandCare, is that it just amplifies the care happening, and it allows and enables more care providers and caregivers to have a say and to coordinate care. So for example, if I have a mother that's living in Florida, and then I have a sister in Wisconsin and a sister in California, all of us could be logging into the GrandCare Care Portal, or there are other systems like this too, logging into the Care Portal. We can all see that, everything all is well. We can see the trending data. Let's suppose she had, some new medication. We could be looking at her motion data to make sure, and of course it's not cameras, it's just activity of daily living, so we can just see that the normal routines are normal and that she's sleeping well, and we can see that she's taken her medications, she's acknowledged the medications on the touchscreen, and it also alleviates some of that guilt too. So if I have a sibling that lives far away and two of us live near parents but one lives far away, now the far away one can sort of be involved in the care too. They know what's happening on a day-to-day basis. They can participate in the video chat on the GrandCare system. So there's a lot of ways that it just makes things better. It connects families, it coordinates them, and relieves that burden, especially if there are one or no caregivers nearby.
And I think that that's a very valuable thing, because certainly family drama always plays out in the care of one's parents, and
Right.
and clear communication alleviates a lot of that, and it makes it better for the not just the parents, but it makes it better for the family members involved. Do you have any?
Yeah, and there's a lot of other. I was just thinking of another service. There's this new technology. Well, it's not that new. It's a transportation, sort of the ride sharing technology, but it's designed for seniors and the disabled population. So all of their driver companions are trained to assist the person into and out of the vehicle, because with the standard taxi or Uber or Lyft, the driver can't physically touch the person.
Right.
So it's sort of like it's fine for the 60% of people that can easily get in and out of the vehicle and don't need assistance into a doctor's appointment. But for those few that need that, this service it's called Silver Ride, and it's designed for that. And I think that services like that, combined with technologies like GrandCare, combined with care coordination tools, combined with pill dispensers and maybe your GPS-enabled shoes for people that need sort of the geofencing for someone who has early Alzheimer's, all of those things will be a piece of the puzzle, combined with the fact that people will start living in areas where services are provided to them versus having to go to the services. So I think all of those cohesive parts will play a part in how we age.
So I really think that there's an opportunity, a bigger opportunity for people to get involved in supporting care for the elderly. How do you think that would work?
I think there's a huge opportunity for a lot of folks to volunteer in this space. And I also think that there's an opportunity for service organizations like churches and synagogues and community centers to get involved by connecting. Isolation is one of the leading drivers towards depression and anxiety in seniors. And the real truth is that these folks have retired and they've lost their work connections, and perhaps they're not getting out as much. And so it just leads to this isolation, loneliness, and depression. Now, when they have, and of course, what you can do with technology is you can just make it better, right? I mean, we can't, make everything 100% all the time, but we can make things better. So we can take somebody who maybe is a shut-in and can't really leave their house, and let's say they really don't have any family. Let's say they have a GrandCare system or even just a tablet with video chat, and we have volunteers maybe at an elementary school or at a church or a daycare where they're volunteering to have these kids or these community members video chat with them. So that, anything like that, giving them a reason to socialize, giving them a reason to get dressed and to take a shower and to get in front of the touchscreen and talk to somebody and have a conversation. I think all of those things are opportunities to make the community better.
And are there organizations, local organizations, where people can get involved and help support the elders in their community?
Yeah, there's lots of organizations that interface caregivers. There's lots of not-for-profits that can help on the aging service centers. There's governmental agencies, area agencies on aging. So there's a lot of venues in which you can get involved in this space. the intersection between technology, that can be a tricky one because it's not always the first sought out option for, especially when you're talking about hands-on caregiving and healthcare. Technology is always sort of the necessary evil, I think, in some ways that people think of it that way, because it just isn't, it's not touchy-feely. So what the goal is to get it really intertwined with the caregiving so that it's just a vehicle to provide care.
And then one of the interesting things that occurs to me is that, like, for my dad, who's 92, he's not exactly facile with technology. So where's the training for people like my dad who may not have grown up with technology, but needs to use it in his daily life? Like, he's figured out the phone, but he hasn't quite gotten the hang of texting yet. And, that might take a while. And he doesn't really know how to check his email yet. He needs help. How does all that come into play?
Well, I think what it comes down to is not forcing anybody to learn anything new, and just because, just because our generation or different generations prefer to communicate in this style, we sort of stick to what that generation wants, the way in which they prefer to communicate. So whether that may be through the telephone, whether that may be through a TV-like interface, and it really is just making it so simple and intuitive that there's nothing to learn. And, the way that we address that with GrandCare is that you can interact with the system as much or as little as you'd like. And in fact, there's a lot of folks that don't even touch the tablet or the touchscreen ever, especially some of the end-of-life hospice palliative care clients. Really, they can whitelist people that can show up on the video chat. And so maybe a designated daughter and son can just show up on the video chat. They don't have to touch it, do anything. Their son or daughter will just show up and talk to them. And of course, that's a decision that they make, whether that is acceptable to them or not. And the other thing is maybe the family can send messages and it just scrolls on the screen and they don't have to do anything. Now, if they would like to reply, there's a big reply button and they can hit reply and they can reply to the message, but they certainly don't have to. And it really is just what they become comfortable with. And I found that a lot of the clients who have said, oh, my dad's not going to like that, my mom hates technology, she's never going to use it, what ended up happening is they refused to use it while I was standing there. And then as soon as I left, they would be, by the time I get back in the room, they'd be playing solitaire on the system. I mean, they're smart people. So it's like they didn't want to make a mistake in front of me, and they didn't want me to experience them learning it. But it's pretty intuitive. And I think a lot of systems out there are designed for that.
And also, I found that grandkids can be a motivator if it allows them to get pictures, communicate with their grandkids, have more interactions on that level. It seems to be way more successful.
Absolutely. And like the founder, Charlie Hillman of GrandCare, always said is, when he originally sought out to start a remote monitoring system, before telehealth was even a thing, when he was going to do the activity of daily living monitoring, he was dead set on the socialization part. And it was at the moment, it was just a narrow casted TV channel. And when some of the investors said, well, why are you doing this? And he kept saying there's got to be something in it for them. There's got to be a reason why they like this system. There's got to be something. And, it turns out now the grandchildren can hook up their Facebook pages to the GrandCare system so that grandma or grandpa doesn't even need to be on Facebook or know that the pictures are coming from Facebook, but they automatically get populated with all the new pictures that they're posting on Facebook. So it's like they're still part of this whole internet sharing wave without having to actively engage with it if they don't want to.
And it makes their lives broader, richer. It adds, more to their lives. And I think that's the one of the essential things about looking to care for the elderly is that these people have led important lives. They've created families. They've been productive members of our society, and they need to feel useful and consulted and involved in what's going on. And the only way you do that is by eliminating the isolation and integrating them into what's going on in the world.
Absolutely.
And technology is really a great tool for doing that, because you may not have the mobility that you used to have, but you have access to everyone now. Everyone carries a phone.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone has access to the internet, at least in the United States.
Well, definitely. And, what was interesting, too, is when we did some studies finding out what people were really touching the most on the GrandCare systems, it was one of the number ones, as you can imagine, was weather. So they always wanted to see what the weather forecast was for the day. And, the other one was, photos. Obviously, they're looking at a lot of photos. But a lot of them were just games and brain, trivia and things like that. They just loved to engage and do something and play, either whether it's solitaire or tic-tac-toe or checkers or, just doing some of the nostalgia trivia. Because you can actually set it up so that you can set up your own trivia of your own timeline. So you and your family can actually add in trivia of when was so-and-so born, when was this happen, and they're actually personalized trivia.
Oh my God, how exciting. I mean, that you create a family history, and that can be shared not with you, but with your kids, your grandkids. It's an amazing tool. Yep. And you lose that. That's one of the things I know that when my grandparents passed, a whole level of history, a whole level of knowledge went with them, and you can't get that back.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate you coming on the show. It's been a great pleasure meeting you. If people want to get in touch with you and learn more about GrandCare or some of the other products that you're working with, how best do they get in touch with you?
So yeah, you can either follow me on Twitter at Laura H. Mitchell, or you can just shoot us an email, info@lauramitchellconsulting.com. And that's Mitchell with 2 L's, lauramitchellconsulting.com.
Thank you very much, Laura. It was a great pleasure talking with you, and I hope you'll come back again and keep us updated on what's going on in elder care and elder care technology. Again, this is Minda Wilson for Urgent Care.
You go to the doctor and get a diagnosis you didn't expect and you don't understand. If you're like so many of us, your first move is to search the internet for information on your condition. Wouldn't it be great if you could get real information? That's where MedAdvisor comes in, a completely free website that delivers the most up-to-date information from doctors, hospitals, researchers, and clinical trials worldwide. MedAdvisor is free, private, and personalized information about your specific medical condition. It's literally as simple as going to medivizor.com and signing up for free. MedAdvisor is free, easy to use, and saves you hours searching for information you can't find on your own. MedAdvisor is a private, personalized, and HIPAA-compliant resource. MedAdvisor, improving the lives of people with serious or chronic medical conditions and those who care for them. Your personalized medical information is a simple click away at medivizor.com. medivizor.com.
Hi, I'm J.K. Simmons. We all know that a good education is a stepping stone to a great career. But what kind of education do you think the men and women in our armed forces are getting? The truth is, it's an outstanding one. In the military, they gain a unique set of skills in areas like technology, engineering, planning, and communications. But more importantly, as soldiers, they develop a set of values they will carry with them for the rest of their lives, like discipline, courage, and leadership. Our veterans can provide tremendous value to the businesses that hire them. And helping a veteran find meaningful work is one of the greatest ways that you can thank them for the service they provided to our country, protecting us and our freedoms. So on behalf of the Coalition to Salute America's Heroes, I want to urge employers and businesses everywhere to hire smart and bet on a vet. To learn more, call 1-888-44-SALUTE or visit saluteheroes.org on the web. Thank you.